Hey, good evening, Facebook. Welcome to another episode of Post Daily Dose with me, your trusted parenting advisor, faithful guide and servant on the healing journey. What's my name? Big Papa Bryan+Post. Happy Saturday. I hope everyone is doing fantastic. And in this episode, we're going to talk about your ultimate responsibility to your teen transitioning into adulthood. So that's what's going down tonight on Post Daily Dose. So I hope everyone has had a fantastic day here in Oklahoma. It's been amazing. I'm talking almost 65 degrees. All the snow's melting and, no more ice. And so it's just been fantastic. Really hope it holds out for one more good solid day. Hello, Mimi. That's my mom's. Sometimes I say Mimi. A lot of times I say mom. Hello, Mimi. That's my children, her grandchildren's name for her, Mimi. So, hi, Mimi. So one thing I want to encourage you to do in the title of tonight's episode, I gave you a link to a YouTube video I shot recently. It's my grocery store pep talk for 2019. So be sure to check that out at the end of this episode. And let's get cranking. So this topic came from a coaching call that I did recently with some the Lovolution members, one of my new parenting Lovolution members, and it was regarding their teenager who is just turned 18, and they're transitioning to adulthood, and they're having some challenges. And hey, Amy, and the mom and the dad are confused on how to handle it. And this is a common challenge that parents face. I think the teen years is challenging anyway. But when you start getting closer to what we consider adulthood, it gets even more confusing. And so we have a tendency to want to, hey, Kenton from Montana, we have a tendency to want, because of our fear, especially if the child's had any, if your children have had any run-ins with the law, or, there's that anxiety that they're making bad choices, our tendency is to want to, do the same thing, constrict, try to pull in, maybe get tougher and not pull in, but threaten that if they want to make a bad decision, then they can move out or they can go live with someone else. And in our belief, and parents have been believing this for a long time, and this is how all the really terrible boot camp things for kids got started, is that if you can, send your child away to a really hard, difficult, not nice place, then they'll be more grateful for what they have. And unfortunately, it's just not the reality for most children, especially not children with trauma, because for children with trauma, it just stresses them out even more. And it's not a matter of not appreciating where they live or the things that they have. It's that they aren't able to be regulated enough to actually step into gratitude and step into being thankful. And so our tendency is to want to, kind of resort to those kind of threatening things. And the ultimate responsibility that you have to your teen transitioning into adulthood, there's only one primary responsibility. And I hope you can grasp it, because it can get overwhelming, it can get challenging. And that is to maintain relationship. So that is the one responsibility that you have to your teen as they are transitioning into adulthood. So you want to respect their age. You want to respect that society says that at 18 they're now young adults, that your parental responsibilities, so to speak, start to change and shift, and they start to have to be more responsible for themselves. You want to respect all of that. But two, you also have to honor that as a parent, you're still fearful. This is still your child. You're still fearful. And you get confused, and you want to pull them back in, and you want to protect them, and you want to keep them safe, and you get scared and you worry. So you have to honor that. But in the middle, in the balance, you have to find your ability to honor and respect your child in this age and this transition into adulthood, and be able to say to them without becoming a threat, I love you, I care about you, I think that's a bad decision, but you're 18, listen to that. I love you, I care about you, I think that is a bad decision. So it's a matter of communicating a belief system, but honoring and respecting where the child is at. I love you, I care about you. I'm always going to be your dad or your mom. But I believe that's a bad decision that you're going to make, but you're 18 years old. And you're going to make whatever decision you think is the best one for you. I just want you to know I can't support it, but that doesn't mean I stop loving you. So I just hope you make a better choice. Because I sure would be sad if something bad happened to you. It sure scares me when I think about you making that decision and then walk away. And one of the reasons I'm always telling you as a parent to make a statement and to walk away is because I want you to remove yourself as the threat. And you have to think about this from a brain-based perspective. When you're in the midst of a transition with your child, any transition, taking out the trash, whatever, turning off television, much less, going out with friends or not going out with friends, or drinking or not drinking, or connecting with wayward family members versus not connecting with them. All things that, for the kid is excitement and there's a level of acceptance, but for you, it's just stressful and scary. In that dynamic, in the midst of that dynamic, there's a lot of stress and there's a lot of anxiety. And I want you to grasp this. So in that exchange, in the moment of that exchange, there's a lot of anxiety and there's a lot of stress. And just your statements alone are threatening to your child. Because your child, number one, I want to tell you that you've gotten them to this point. So regardless of how long you have been in relationship with them, whether you adopted them from birth, or they were foster child, or they were your biological child, or you got them as teenagers, or they've been with you for a year, they're now 18 years old. So at that point, you have to understand that you've gotten them to that point. You have invested. You've been your highest, most loving self. You've been consistent. You've been persistent. You have been faithful to your child. And yes, you may have made some mistakes and had some missteps, but you did not give up. You did not quit. You have been the best parent you could have possibly been. And you have given this child something that they can actually grow from. You have helped their foundation. So you have to understand that. You have to honor yourself for that. I honor you, and you have to be able to accept that. Okay, so that's where now faith is going to kick in. You have to have faith that the parenting that you have done up until this point has been enough to continue to influence your child moving forward. So you have to have faith in that, and you have to have faith that God's looking out for your child and is going to continue to look out for them and continue to guide them on the path that they're going to go on all the way until they take their very last breath. So in telling you that, it's important to understand that in the midst of those transitions, it's scary, it's threatening. There's a lot of stress, there's a lot of anxiety. When I say make a statement, when I say tell your child that they're 18, and I actually coach parents to do that with teenagers, like younger teenagers, because that's when they need to start having an opportunity to make choices for themselves and feel the emotional consequences. See, this is important. They need to be able to make choices for themselves and feel the emotional consequences of their decisions, not make decisions based on feeling threatened and stressed and coerced or cajoled or forced or shamed by you as a parent. So when you remove yourself, when you make a statement and you go away, you're removing yourself as the threat. Because if you stay there and you try to talk them out of the dynamic or talk them out of the situation, you're creating more of a threat dynamic. And as you create more of a threat dynamic, you create more of a stress dynamic. And as you create more of a stress dynamic, your child's going to leave. They will then go do whatever it is they were wanting to do anyway, which they probably, you don't know if they'd have done it or not, but they're going to go do it. But the problem is now they're doing it because you were acting a certain way. Now they're doing it because you forced their hand. See, this is their psychology, and their psychology is coming from a confused and distorted place. So now they're not taking any responsibility because they're blaming you. Or do you follow that? They're not taking responsibility for their actions. They're not having to deal with the emotional consequences of their decisions because they can turn around and blame you. See, and that's the whole problem with all kinds of fear-based behavior modifications, natural consequences, which I call parent-formulated consequences, yelling, blaming, shaming. That's the problem with all those things to begin with, is because you become the threat when you start engaging your child that way. And then when you become the threat, which stresses them out, overwhelms them, suppresses their short-term memory, they go out and act in crazy ways and they blame you for it. Then they're taking no responsibility. They're not thinking when they're out there in that confused and distorted place and that short-term memory's all jacked up. They're not thinking, so they're not remembering, they're not learning, they're not taking any responsibility, they're not feeling bad about their decisions because you're to blame. So as long as you stand there trying to get your child to do something, your 18-year-old child to do something because you're afraid that they're going to make a bad decision, you're just becoming more and more of a threat. And when you become more and more of a threat, it is sacrificing the relationship. I want you to hear something very important. As long as you have relationship with your child, you have the ability to influence them, and your child is going to be your child as long as you are alive. The moment you lose relationship, you lose everything. When you resort to fear and control and threats, you are jeopardizing the relationship. And fear and control and threats are only going to go so far. Because what if you say to your child, well, if you leave, don't come back? What happens when they leave? Then you're sitting there looking crazy and scared and worried and stressed out because they've left and you've what's the analogy? You've put your cards on the table and they called you. You threw your cards out there and they called you and now they're gone and now you're still stressed out. You've taken away any opportunity for growth. You've taken away the possibilities for relationship. As long as you can maintain relationship, and it's not hard to do with an 18-year-old. All you've got to do to maintain a relationship with that 18-year-old who's wanting to make less than healthy decisions or who's wanting to make potentially bad decisions is just say, honey, I love you. I care about you. You're the most important thing in the world to me. And that's a horrible decision. But you're 18. You're going to do what you feel is the best thing you need to do. I'm still going to be here loving you. Now I'm going to go on in here and take care of business. I got dinner to cook or I got a movie to watch or whatever it is. I hope you make the right decision. I love you. I'll see you later. And you go away. That's relationship. That's how you maintain relationship. Tell your child how you feel. Your 18-year-old child, tell your child how you feel. Tell them you respect the fact that they're 16 or 17 or 18. You really want them to make a good decision. And you walk away and you remove the threat. Stephen says, should we consider faith as the final stage in healing when dealing with reactive attachment disorder? Absolutely. Faith it almost should be, Stephen, the first stage and the last stage. We just have to have faith because at the end of the day, we don't have anything else. And if you think about, I think this is probably the second 2 days in a row now where I talk about thoughts become things. Your words and your energy create your reality. Is it better, all things considered, is it going to be more helpful, more healing, more secure and safe for you to sit, to do absolutely nothing, to sit and think and send vibrations of fear and stress and worry to your child? Or send vibrations of love, faith, and healing? We have a choice. And that's how, isn't that how I end every one of these? In every given situation, we have a choice. Laura says, and sometimes they decide to step away from the family for a time anyway. This happened with our son, who is still gone, but will hopefully come back some. Absolutely. So I'm not telling you this because your child may all of a sudden make the right decision and stay home. We truly don't know what their path holds for them. They may make a decision that doesn't feel good to you, and they may go away. But you want your child, if they make the decision to go away, you want them going away with the words being, I love you, I care about you, I believe in you. And I'm scared for you, and I'll be sad, but I trust you and I have faith. You want them going away with those words. You don't want them going away with harsh words, with threats and fear and shame, because that's just going to fuel them even further. Because if they go out there and they make bad decisions, which they may, because a lot of us do, a lot of us make bad decisions when we're 18 going out into the world. It's just a part of it. We're still kids. Our freaking brain doesn't even completely develop until we're 25 in the best case scenarios. So we're going to make bad decisions. We just do. We just hopefully those decisions don't get us in jail or in prison or dead. But you want your child to go out in that world, make the decisions for them, and when they think about you, you want the last seed in their brain, because Bruce Perry always says that the brain always returns to the way the event was handled the last time. The brain always returns to the way the event was handled the last time. You want that seed planted in their brain. When they think of you, when they've made that decision that you don't agree with, you want it to be, my mom loves me, my dad loves me, they care about me, and I always have a home. I might not be able to call them yet, but when I really do need someone, I know they're there, and that's what the phone call is going to be. Stephen says, I personally consider faith as the ultimate tool in confirming my children. Without faith, I wouldn't be able to see them as the great humans they are. Absolutely. Without faith, we really have nothing. We're just going blind. We're just going blind. Faith gives us a reservoir of energy and knowing and containment, if you will. It gives us a reservoir of containment which holds us and keeps us strong and helps us persevere and persist when things are unsteady. And our faith allows us to find gratitude and hope and joy and comfort when we are the most fearful and when we feel the most alone. So remember, in any given situation, you have two choices. You can get mad. You can get scared. You can be worried, and you can threaten, and you can shame, and you can cajole, and you can try to force your child not to go out into the world and make an adult decision. Because just because they are now 18 and they are now responsible for making adult decisions, doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be an actual adult decision. It's a lot of times their decisions are going to be based in adolescence and even toddler and sometimes even infancy. Decisions are going to come from those places. But you can create all that negativity that fuels them out the door. Or you can stop, you can take 3 to 10 deep breaths, you can slow down, you can have positive beliefs, you can have faith. Have faith in what you have done for your kids. Have faith and belief in the parenting job you have done. You are a good parent. You are a good parent. You are a good parent. You have been faithful to your child. You have gotten this far. You can have faith. You can pray for them. You tell them, I love you, I love you, I love you. I want you, I always want you. When you need me, I am here. Now go and make the decisions you're going to make and just know I have faith and I'm here and I love you. And it's not always going to be easy. And in doing that, you're choosing love. So I just want to say God bless you. Thank you for joining me. I hope you lay your heads down tonight, and I hope you wake up in the morning refreshed, restored, reinvigorated, revised, re-energized, and full of faith and full of love. Big Papa loves you, and I'll see you tomorrow.